Good day and a very warm welcome to this web clinic. Coordikids is committed to provide the information and strategies to help as many children as possible. A few housekeeping issues. Make sure that your speakers or headphones are connected to your computer and that your computer's volume is turned up. You do not need a microphone. Everyone except me is muted. We'll email you a link to the recording of this web clinic. Use the menu on the right of your screen, which looks like this. You can check your sound in the box as indicated. Post your questions in the box marked questions. Please do not use the chat box, as I shall not be looking at the questions before they end during question time. I'll keep you busy with my slides and voice for about an hour. Thereafter, I'll answer questions for about 10 to 20 minutes. You can also contact me via email at marga@coordikids.com with any questions or concerns that you might have. I'll answer these individually and your privacy will be valued. The slides are available for you to download at this time. The slides are numbered so you can relate your notes to the slides at a later time. We are quite a large crowd from all over the world. My apologies to the people in the US. It is Thanksgiving and many of you cannot listen to the live web clinic. I hope the recording will be valuable for you as well. I hope this webinar will give you insight in sensory motor disorders and dyspraxia to help you and the children in your life. I am Marga Grey, a pediatric occupational therapist. I have been an OT for ages with a keen interest in sensory integration and sensory processing for about the last 40 years. I am also a mother of 3 adult children and 4 gorgeous grandchildren. My latest focus is the Coordikids programs. I have developed these programs to help as many children as possible. At present, online programs are an effective way to reach many children. We rely on many years' experience and on the latest research to ensure that the information we provide, our programs and our advice are the best and the most relevant to help your child and all the children in your care. This web clinic is all about dyspraxia, a sensory-based motor disorder under the umbrella of sensory processing disorder. Dyspraxia affects movement and coordination, but also organization skills and executive functioning. Sensory processing disorder, including dyspraxia, is a condition in which the brain has trouble receiving and processing information from the senses. This condition leaves many children with symptoms of anxiety, with concentration issues, with poor coping skills for social and school environments. Sensory processing disorder also leaves parents in despair as they find it difficult to understand their child and to cope with the child's issues. The images on this page look disorganized, as if all over the place with no specific order or color theme, exactly the way a person with dyspraxia functions. Today we are going to discuss the definition of dyspraxia. What is it? I'm sorry, I missed a slide there. Yep, sorry. Today we are going to discuss the definition of dyspraxia. What is it? What problems do people with dyspraxia have? Dyspraxia is an important and often neglected part of sensory processing disorder. We have presented a number of web clinics, including one on sensory processing disorder, which is the umbrella term for many conditions. The first is the modulation disorders, on which we had 4 web clinics, including the movement seeker, the movement avoider, the tactile defensive child, and the picky eater. If you are interested to listen to the recordings of any of these, please send us an email. It will be available free of charge until the end of this year. I have changed the topics of upcoming web clinics according to the questions we have received and the issues that we see in the clinic on a daily basis. We tailor the web clinics to support parents, teachers, and therapists. The next one will be in December on sensory diet. which you can implement to help any child with mild or severe sensory issues. Early next year, we'll address anxiety. Many children suffer from anxiety because of sensory processing issues. Anxiety prevents optimal development and learning. We'll provide information on the causes of anxiety and provide strategies to help the child that suffers from anxiety. Then we'll set aside a web clinic to discuss and to explain how SPD and autism are linked and how it overlaps. Right now, I'll provide a very short summary of sensory processing disorder, the umbrella under which dyspraxia, amongst other conditions, falls. OTs identify 8 senses. These are all important to receive information about the environment and about our bodies. The 8 senses include the 5 that we all are familiar with. These are seeing, tasting, smelling, hearing, and the sense of touch. The others are a sense of body position. Receptors in your muscles and joints provide this information. The sense of movement is registered in your inner ear and also contributes to balance. Interoception provides information about your body awareness, including breathing, heart rate, digestion, and more. Dyspraxia depends on the senses of touch, body position, or proprioception, and on the movement of the body. The brain uses these senses to plan and to produce accurate and coordinated movements. Planning of movements is the foundation of many other skills, which I'll explain later. Okay, so SPD stands for Sensory Processing Disorder. Sensory means it has to do with the senses. Processing means there is a process involved, thus a number of steps that have to be followed in a specific order. A disorder which means something is wrong and not working according to plan. What is this process? Let us think about this process. Let us look at this. So first of all, the environment is filled with sensations. Seeing, hearing, tasting, smelling, feeling, movement, and body position. These are all sent to the brain via your sensory pathways. The brain processes it. The brain sends messages back to the body, and the body provides your reaction or your behavior. Okay, it seems to me that we have a technical difficulty with the sound. I'll be back in 1 minute. Just hang on a second there. Please don't leave us. Hello. Okay, I'm back. Sorry. Apparently it was a minor problem that some people experienced, but it's all good now, so we continue. Okay, as I said, this is the process of sensory processing. I'm not going through that again. It will waste a bit of time. So let us think about a practical example of this process. Let's say you are playing tennis. Your senses perceive the environment regarding the position of your opponent, the size of the ball, the position and size of your racket. These perceptions are sent to the brain via the sensory pathways. The brain processes the information and sends messages to your body regarding your action. Should you move and in which direction? How should you control the racket? Where do you want to place the ball regarding the position of your opponent? Your body listens to the messages from your brain and move in the correct direction. If you are successful, you receive positive feedback from your body, and your behavior might be affected with continuous concentration on the task. However, should you be unsuccessful, you will receive negative feedback from your body. You might lose concentration, feel discouraged, and your behavior might reflect anger or disappointment. Miller and others have developed this nosology of sensory processing disorder, which explains this complex condition. In the previous web clinics, we have covered the umbrella term sensory processing disorder and explain how different sensory thresholds affect behavior through over-responsivity or under-responsivity, leaving a person craving or seeking for specific sensations and or avoiding others. In today's web clinic, we are looking at the sensory-based motor disorders, specifically dyspraxia, and the functional implications of this condition. We shall also provide strategies to develop the foundation of this condition and to minimize functional problems. In the first web clinic on SPD, I have explained the following diagram in detail. In order to do any task, we have to have the intention and the motivation. Then our senses should perceive the environment and our body positions and movements. The brain has to recognize the information, process it, and plan the action. Action follows planning, and we can evaluate it if it was a success or a failure. The outcome of the action provides the opportunity for an adaptive response. An adaptive response indicates learning and development of the brain. This process can be related to a spiral by which we learn, which provide motivation and intention, and so on. Sensory processing disorder affects all of these steps. In this web clinic, we'll focus on the process, the planning, the action, and the evaluation of success or failure. In this image, you can see how the receptors in the skin, the muscles, and the joints send messages to the brain via specific sensory pathways. As we have seen on the previous slide, these sensations are processed in the brain and messages are sent back to the body to react. For example, your leg muscles, hip joints, and the skin on parts of your legs might be sending messages to your brain that the blood flow is not adequate. You feel pins and needles in your legs. Your brain processes these messages and sends messages back to your body, providing you with a need to move your legs, to stand up, or to go for a walk. When you are involved in specific movement activities, these messages should be accurate and specific to ensure that you perform optimally in the sport or other movements that you are involved in. If this process is not functional and not automatic, you might stumble, look clumsy, fall over your own feet, have difficulty with concentration, or bump into others or objects. This process of planning forms the foundation of more advanced planning, such as sequences, rhythm, organization, and executive functioning. Praxis develops from an early age. A baby crawling under a table might bump her head against the table. This teaches her the height of the table in relation to the size of her body, specifically her head and head position. After a few attempts, the baby would duck when crawling under the table. Why? She learned that she can avoid injury by ducking. This is motor planning. It relies on body position, spatial awareness, visual field, and movement receptors. The older child involved in sport uses many planning skills, including timing, to be successful. Dancing, running, walking depends on rhythm, timing, sequences of movement. Completing assignments needs planning of many tasks in the correct sequential order. All of these tasks would be difficult, impossible, or unsuccessful without proper planning. By the age that the child should be able to plan and complete a complex assignment, the underlying sensory motor skills of balance, coordination, and movement planning should be automatic. They should not have to spend time to think about these skills. So how does these people present? People with sensory-based motor disorders and specifically dyspraxia. And it's not only children. There are many adults walking around with these problems. So these people have difficulty navigating this world. Their bodies don't want to do what their brains tell them to do. It impacts on rhythm, on sequences of movement and thoughts. All of these are the foundation of core executive functions such as working memory, inhibitory control, cognitive flexibility, and also the higher order executive functions such as reasoning, problem solving, planning. Now, those of you who have listened to the previous webinars will certainly remember this slide. I use it so often, and it's actually, yes, it's becoming a bit boring for me, but anyway, it is very effective because it really shows you that the development of dyspraxia is part of a child's normal development. This whole pyramid is a child's development. It starts right at the bottom where all the senses are registered and integrated. The next stage, the orange part, is all the skills of motor planning and your sensory motor skills. The next part is more perception and the skills that you need, the basic skills you need in school. Then you get creativity, personal relationships, and the top part up there is actually the skills that you notice in the classroom, like reading and writing and mathematics and effective relations with other people. So this pyramid works like the iceberg. You only see the tip of the iceberg, but there's a big, huge part underneath that support that tip. So if there is a crack in the bottom part of the iceberg below the water, that crack might create big cracks in the top part, and the iceberg might even fall apart. So the foundational skills are so important, and as an occupational therapist, we just see that when you work on the foundational skills and we make sure that the foundation is strong and well developed, then the top part, that tip of the iceberg, that behavior in the classroom is also well developed. So the optimal development of the sensory motor skills I have identified throughout all the years that I've been working is absolutely crucial for the development of praxis, or if it's not praxis, it's dyspraxia. On this pyramid, the sensory motor skills are presented as the orange color. The Coordikids programs are targeted and were developed to ensure the optimal development of specifically these skills in any child or adult. Now you can download this free ebook, visit our Coordichild website, and this tells you stories that it's all true stories. It happened, it's real children, it's real stories about what happened with children who had problems with different aspects of sensory motor skills, and what happened when that problem was addressed in therapy and improved and the development was normal. So you can read all of those stories. It's a short book, it's not a heavy reading, it's easy reading, and it's free. So I use studio names, but the stories are of real life clients. It might just be an interesting read for you. Okay, so let's look at dyspraxia. This is a word from Greek. The word means praxis, to do, and the Latin prefix dys means unable to do. So praxis is the ability to motor plan, and dyspraxia means you don't have that ability. These people do, not only children, have trouble with coordination. Timing is often poor regarding physical movement, such as hitting a ball. Poor timing can also be seen in the way a person prepares for an assignment or prepare to leave the house. Poor planning, organization, and sequencing Leave the dyspraxic person to be late for appointments, to have difficulty to prepare for important meetings, and to be fully dependent on a diary to follow schedules. They tend to be clumsy and to have difficulty to plan everyday tasks well. These issues create feelings of failure, frustration, and the person, usually the child, can present with clown-like behavior. I am sad to say that most of the websites that I have visited in my research for this presentation indicated that there is no cure for dyspraxia. I do not know on which research and experience they came to this conclusion. Thus, there are many strategies on the internet to help a child with dyspraxia in the class and at home. However, I could find very little information to solve the problem and to help a child to overcome dyspraxia. I decided at the time of doing this research to change the focus of this webinar to provide more information on the causes of dyspraxia and on how to solve the problem, rather than strategies to use without addressing the core and root of the problem. These strategies are used like band-aids on a wound. It can make the life of a child much easier, but it do not change the condition. Strategies will be covered in more detail in other web clinics if necessary. But at present, I want to show you how you can help a child or yourself to overcome the problem and not only to use band-aids to provide temporary solutions. So on this page is another image to indicate the importance of the sensory motor skills. These foundational skills affect the cognitive and learning skills. Now, in the back of your mind, you can keep that pyramid that I showed you before with the iceberg also in your mind. So the top part here is like the top of the iceberg. That is the part, the bluish, pinkish parts. And that is the literacy skills, word decoding, vocabulary, and more. Now, to be able to master these top skills, the child has to master the executive functions of reasoning, problem solving, and planning. These skills are built on the skills of working memory, inhibitory control, and cognitive flexibility. Then speech and language, thought processes, emotions, social skills, and basic organization are important factors that affect the core executive functioning. The next layer of skills, all the orange bricks again, are very important as it directly affects praxis, and if these skills are not well developed, the child presents with dyspraxia. You can see that sensory discrimination is also in orange, as this skill is linked to how we perceive the environment and it affects our movements. For example, a child with poor sensory discrimination might not feel the size of the pen accurately. This impacts on the fine finger movements needed for handwriting. Ideation is also in orange. Ideation is the idea that one has before you commence any task. You have an idea which makes it possible to identify a goal, to prepare a plan, to act, and to change the plan should it be necessary. Sensory discrimination is also in orange as it is directly involved with the development of praxis. Have a look at all of these foundational skills. Balance, coordination, effective eye movements and spatial awareness, timing, processing speed, sequences, short-term memory. All of these are automatic in our daily functioning. We do not have to think about it. If you have to focus on impaired functional skills such as, for example, a sense of direction, you will find it difficult to do word decoding. So all of the orange bricks are addressed in the Coordikids programs. We see many children with problems in these areas in therapy, and to help them, one has to improve these skills. They should be automatic and ready to use in any task. Now I want to touch briefly on some neurology functions. The brain has many different areas. We can see the main functional areas in this image. The orange bricks in the previous image represent functions of the brain stem, the cerebellum, and other areas of the midbrain inside there, not on the top of the cortex. The bricks in the previous image built on the orange represent the cerebrum or the cortex, so all of these areas. The left and right hemispheres of the brain have different functions. Psychologists and neuroscientists have spent many research studies on this topic. However, I want to share the importance of the communication of the two hemispheres. We have a thick nerve structure called the corpus callosum between the two hemispheres, which provide communication opportunities between the hemispheres. Without this communication, many functions are jeopardized. Of course, there are many different ways a person reacts and functions with a lesion in this area, depending on the damage. Another important aspect of neurodevelopment is that the brain develops from the bottom up and from the inside out. So the brain stem develops first, then the midbrain, and then the cortex. This means that the brain stem and midbrain develop before the cortex, providing many connections between these basic structures and the cortex. The cortex cannot function without the support of the underlying structures. In this image, you can see some of the functions of each hemisphere. At the top, you see the visual images in this person's visual field, a rabbit and a daisy. The images are perceived by the receptors in the eyes, and messages are sent mainly to the occipital cortex at the back of our heads. On the way to this part of the cortex, the messages touch base with many other areas. It creates a map in our brain. We make associations with previous experiences, and we do not only see, but we experience this visual field. Important factor also is that the images cross over from the one eye to the opposite hemisphere. So already there is a lot of crossing over, lots of connections between these two hemispheres. So let us have a look at maths and music. Have you noticed that many people who are doing well in maths and science are also good musicians? They have excellent communication between the two hemispheres. Look at mathematics in the left hemisphere there, and music in the right hemisphere. Both of these skills rely on patterns, on sequences, and on equations. A musician needs the left hemisphere to read notes, to understand the theory of music, and he needs the right hemisphere to put the art, the emotion, and the feeling into the music. What about social skills? Understanding language is a function of the left hemisphere. Recognition of faces and body image is a function of the right hemisphere. This means that you need excellent communication between the two hemispheres to listen and understand what a person says and to read the body language, facial expressions, and social cues. Coordikids calls the communication between the two hemispheres brain bridging. Our programs are targeted to encourage optimal brain bridging. Just as a point of interest, many studies have been done on split brain patients. This means that the corpus callosum has been cut and there are no communication between the two hemispheres. These images on the slide provide an idea of what happens in drawings of the person who do not have communication between the two hemispheres. Fortunately, most of the children and adults that we see do not have such extreme problems. But it is possible to encourage the communication with effective brain bridging exercises. So let's have a look at Slow Sally, and we need to meet her now and see what her issues are. Slow Sally was slow to reach her developmental milestones. She was slow to crawl, slow to walk, slow to speak. Sitting, crawling, walking, may be delayed, and often these children, including slow Sally, did not crawl properly. And crawling is so important because that's the perfect actually movements that indicate to effective brain bridging and effective communication between the two hemispheres. Because if you think of a baby that's crawling really effectively, they use the one arm and the leg on the opposite side, so the left arm and the right leg will move together. The movements are very rhythmical. They use sequences, and yeah, it's a very good rhythm. So that's a very good idea of what we call bilateral integration. So the two sides of the brain are working very well together. So to come back to slow Sally, she also struggles and avoids to play games with peers. She often prefers older or younger children to play with. She has gross and fine motor skills problems, and it's below average, so she doesn't really like to be involved in cutting and pasting activities, and she has clever and creative ways to avoid sports or PE classes. Her teacher also reports that she needs to work faster, she tends to daydream, she tends to take her time in any task, and then she needs a lot of prompting to complete any task. So she has dyspraxia. So Sally presents with general concentration issues in class and is slow to complete tasks. She did not crawl, but moved on her bum in the sitting position. Why does she struggle and avoid playing games with peers? She often prefers older or younger children to play with. As we have discussed, poor brain bridging creates problems when following a conversation and reading social skills. The expectations of peers are often too difficult for her to follow. So she feels safe and not challenged when in the company of older or younger children. She also presents with a poor pencil grip. So did you know that crawling is one of the best ways to encourage the development of a mature pencil grip? Sally loves sport and dancing, but looks clumsy and is too slow to be chosen for the team. She tries her best and practices more than others, but her dancing instructor reports that she is not talented. Her teacher reports that she needs to work faster, but when she tries, her handwriting is untidy with difficulty to form letters and to space words. At home, her handwriting is much better, but she takes hours to complete her homework. Sally presents with many issues related to dyspraxia, working memory and executive functioning. Sally's problems leave her disheartened, with feelings of being a failure and with some anxiety. So, crawling is an excellent example of praxis and brain bridging. It is the rhythmical, coordinated movements of both sides of the body. And the fact that Sally did not crawl indicates that brain bridging was not optimal during her baby years. Why does Sally need prompting to complete tasks? Firstly, she does not process the verbal instructions correctly. Secondly, because of inadequate brain bridging, she cannot remember a sequence. This is indicated in a sequence of movements when dancing, a sequence of events when she is telling a story, a sequence of tasks when she is preparing to leave the house, or a sequence of letters when spelling a word. Sally's intelligence is above average. We'll have to help her to prevent behavioral issues, a poor self-esteem, and anxiety. So let's meet Joker John. Joker John is a little boy, and he actually reached his developmental milestones early. He was very active. However, he is prone to bump into things, to fall over, and in general he is quite clumsy, although very active. The teacher reports that he should try harder. He's often unhappy, fighting, in tears when playing games with peers. He tends not to understand the rules of games, and he might want to change the rules quite often, and other kids might be annoyed with him. His gross and fine motor skills are below average. He rushes through tasks, impacting on the end product. And then he has problems with ideation. And that is what I said previously, that idea that you have before you start, that encourages you to plan before you start. So, Joker John is a busy little man. He is the clown of the class and popular amongst peers. He did reach his development milestones early, but he is still clumsy and prone to falling. His intelligence is above average, but his marks are average and below. His teacher reports that he should try harder and concentrate on his work. He is often unhappy, fighting, or in tears when playing games with peers. Although he loves activity and sport, he presents with below average gross and fine motor skills. He often pretends that he doesn't mind and joke about it. He's also prone to fall over on purpose or to be funny instead of concentrating on tasks. He often rushes through tasks, impacting on end products. His ideas are often impossible to create. Problem solving of every task, such as tidying his room, is impossible. I have seen many children similar to Joker John in therapy sessions. I find that clown-like behavior is a good indication of possible dyspraxia. Clown-like on the one hand and avoiders on the other hand, they are often indications of dyspraxia. Joker John is intelligent and knows when he fails, but because of poor planning, he cannot learn from experience, and he finds it tricky to correct and to improve. A task such as tying shoelaces might be tricky. Joker John can kick a ball very well. However, in a match, he looks clumsy and misses the goal. His issues with planning and with brain bridging distracts his attention from the game. He cannot focus on his body movements, which are not yet automatic, and on the position of the ball, the position of his opponents, and the cheering of the parents. So this is just an image that I saw on Google Images, and I just love it. And I just want to thank the test people who put it all together. I have used it in previous webinars as well. It just shows you that dyspraxia impacts on just about every area of a person's life. And many adults walk around with unresolved dyspraxia, and they find it difficult to navigate in this world. They have organization issues. They have issues with gross motor skills. They have issues with fine motor skills. They have issues with concentration, communication, classroom difficulties, or work-related difficulties. And you can just imagine on the frustration in everything that you do every day. You have problems and you run into problems, and you just have that feeling of, I'm not good enough all the time. So how can we help? In my experience, the sensory motor skills are the most important factor. These skills encourage the development of effective communication between the hemispheres of the brain. It cultivates brain bridging, and it also ensures that the lower areas of the brain stem and the midbrain, are well developed and provides an effective foundation for the rest of the brain to function. I have many years of experience in helping children with these problems. You can also listen to some of the success stories on the Coordikids website. Many success stories are also described in the ebook that I have recommended earlier. I can tell you one more. One of my colleagues assessed a highly intelligent boy of 9 years. He did very well in school, but suddenly and unexpectedly experienced problems with spelling, with writing essays, and he experienced minor reading issues. Now let us have a look at the image of development that I have discussed earlier. The problems that the boy experienced were clearly depending on cognitive skills of the cortex. The outcome of the assessment indicated issues with sequential memory and minor issues with the crossing of the midline of the body. My colleague tapped my brain to make a decision on future therapy options. My advice was to strengthen the sensory motor skills because sequencing is one of the sensory motor skills. However, these skills seemed to be well developed as the boy was an excellent runner. But in the end, the parents and my colleague decided to give it a go, and they decided to continue with a program that targeted brain bridging, including sequences of movements and the crossing of the midline of the body. The outcome was a surprise to everybody than me. He excelled in school, sequential memory scored above average, although the program did not include any direct work on cognitive skills such as memory. It only addressed brain bridging on the subcortex levels. And also his sports skills and running improved to be way above average and exceptional. So this boy was obviously born with excellent intelligence and also very good genes for sport. But his problems with sensory motor skills impacted on his performance and learning. And although those sensory motor skills, when assessed, it was just average and all his other skills were above average, it wasn't on par with the rest of his development. And when we addressed those problems, it helped him to excel in absolutely every part of his life. And it wasn't a 3-year-old, it was a 9-year-old boy. So this was very exciting to see. Okay, now let's have a look to see how we can help these children apart from addressing the sensory motor skills. So we can use the Band-Aids that I talked about earlier. But please, just for the interim period, why we address dyspraxia directly. Sensory motor skills should be well developed. And if they are, you will see how successful your child or the children in your classroom become. As far as I could find, Coordikids provides the only program that targets these skills directly. I couldn't find anything else, and this is the reason why we develop these programs. Let us have a look at how we can help these children and adults with organization, planning, following instructions and commands, and to cultivate a positive self-esteem. So for organization and planning, keep in your mind that this is how a child or a person feels. They feel all the question marks there. They have no idea where to start, how to sort it out. It's like a little boy sitting in his room and mum says, you should tidy your room. And they don't know where to start. They don't know what to start with, what to do. They either cry, they run outside, they refuse to do it, they make jokes about it. Adults have the same problem. They give up. They stop their studies. They decide to do something else. It's too hard to sort it out. So what this person needs is this diagram here. They need to know what to do and then what to do next, and then what to do next, and then what to do next. They also need somebody to help them with these questions: where, when, how, what, who, why, because they find it so difficult to sort that out and to answer those questions. An easy way to plan a day is to use a chart like this, something similar like this. You can go on Google Images and you'll find millions of them. So this is just a good example of my day. At 7 o'clock, you should be doing this. At 8 o'clock, you should be in the bus. 2:30, you get in the bus to come home. 3 o'clock, you do this, and so on. So I like something like this. This is quite good to give them an idea of the day. It's lovely for the child with dyspraxia to have it in the classroom as well, and just to give them an indication. What do we do when we get to school? Then we have morning tea. What do we do after morning tea? Then we have lunch. What do we do before lunch and after lunch? They often are just in the middle of a day and they don't know what happened before and what's going to happen next. Then also another one that I like is these it's almost old-fashioned calendars that a long time ago we have had, all of them had them on our desks, but it's a lovely way to show a child a week or even a month, and to say, okay, on this day we'll go to church, on this day you go for swimming lessons, on this day grandma will arrive for a week visit, on this day grandma will still be here, on this day she will still be there, on that day grandpa will arrive, on that day we'll go for a picnic. And just so that they have a clear idea of a week, of a month, as in a visual field, because they don't have it in their minds. They need a visual image to help them. Then what we use in therapy, which works quite well, and I encourage you to make something like this at home for your child. This is one of the parents asked about prompting in the morning to get ready for school, and it's just that continual thing of, have you done this, have you done this, do this now, do this now, do this now, and repeat, 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 and the child hears his own name 200 times before he gets into the bus on his way to school. So a thing like this will help you. What we did is just to buy a very cheap frame and put 2 pieces of Velcro on it. Then we printed some images of tasks that the child should do. We took pictures of equipment in the room. You can take pictures of your child. You can go to Google Images Clip Art. This is where I got these from. And then the child knows he has to brush his teeth, and then he has to get dressed. So once he has brushed his teeth, he moved the picture over to the other side, then he knows that's done. So what is next? Next, I need to dress myself. So when he has done that, he moved the picture over to the other side. And then you can make pictures of making bed, praying, having breakfast, picking up your school bag, and then off to school. So this is an easy way to make sure that the child has a visual image of everything that he has to do. And depending on the child's age and depending on the child's skills, we have children who have one chart in the bathroom: brush your teeth, wash your face, go to the toilet, wipe up at the toilet, flush the toilet, everything on a little chart. Other kids only need one to say go to the bathroom, and they know what they have to do there. So it depends on your child. You have to observe your child and see how much support he needs. Then you can have one in the bedroom that tells him, put your undies on, put your shorts on, whatever. So you know your child, you know your schedule, you put it in the way you like it. Then you can have, if necessary, you can have one at the door before the child goes to the car. Do you have your school bag? Do you have your lunchbox in your school bag? Do you have your school shoes on? Do you have your sports clothes in your bag? So he can just check that. And after a while, those images become part of the child's brain structure, and the child will do it automatically. But some of them needs them for a very, very long time. Don't be disheartened, just use them. It's much easier than to call out every time for your child to, did you make your bed? Why didn't you make your bed? Go and make your bed, whatever. We want to avoid that as much as possible. If the child can use a chart like this, he feels in control. He feels positive about himself and his own abilities once he has moved all the pictures over to the other side. Once your child can do this fairly easily, you can add to this another level, and you can put a timer on and see if your child can finish a set of activities within a certain period of time. So you can use a salt runner, you can use a timer like this one, or just the normal kitchen timer. I pretty much like this one. You can usually buy it from the Century websites that sell Century toys. It is lovely because as the time passes, this blue part will grow smaller and smaller, and it's very easy for the child to see, oh, time is running out, I need to run, or I need to do it faster. You can do a little reward if your child could do all the activities in a certain set of time. However, I personally think a reward can be just say, good job, you did it, and to know that he did well. That in itself is a reward. You can use sticker. I would avoid buying gifts because You can't just continue to buy gifts for everything your child is doing. Your child will definitely grow and develop and get more and more skills, so you cannot just keep on buying more and more rewards all the time. So check what reward system you might put in place. Okay, let's have a look at more Band-Aids. So supporting your commands, it's very important to do that, because these children really find it difficult to follow verbal commands. So make them short commands, 1 or 2 steps. Once again, depends on your child, depends on your child's abilities, depends on your child's age and your child's development. Make your commands and expectations age and skills appropriate. Use the visuals to support verbal. Do not rush. And if you are a parent who loves to rush like I am doing most of the time, try to slow down. You'll also have to assist with the initial stages of a task. Sometimes once the child is on task and he knows where to start, then they can continue. It's just that those initial stages of, if you think of that image of the person sitting on the blue chair, the blue person sitting on the blue chair with all the question marks, it's just to sort those question marks into what is first, then that, then that, then that. And you can give the child just support with the initial stages, and often they can continue with the rest, but sometimes they need support with the initial, now do this, and then when he's finished, we do the next one, and then when he's finished, we do the next one. So you can also assist with the planning by doing little blocks, as I have done on the previous slide, but also you can use the visual images and the chart that you can move over. Then physically help your child to move through the steps, like this image that you see here. And often, you know, like catching a ball, a 3 or 4-year-old who has problems doing that, I would stand behind the child, take his hand into my hand, and then catch the ball with both hands and use his arms, do the movements with his arms. And often you have to do it like 6, 7, 8, 9 times before they get it. Don't be disheartened. Just continue. Just think, I'm building the pathways in the brain. We're building the pathways in the brain. And just continue and continue, and he will get it. And he will be so proud of himself, which is so beautiful to see. The other Band-Aid that is very important is to encourage your child's self-image. And many of these children are above average intelligence, so don't pretend that you are happy with their performance if you're not. Don't say it's good if it wasn't good, because they will know and they won't believe you in future. So many experiences that these children have create failures and disappointments. Be aware of that. Be soft on them. Create opportunities for success. We are the adults. We should know. We can create an opportunity. We know, if we know that child and we know the child's skills, we can create something that he can do successfully. The 3-year-old might be able to take a glass of milk to his dad without spilling it, and it might be a very good achievement for him. And if you know he can do it, let him do it and praise him for it. The 10-year-old might feel that he has done a very good achievement to finish his homework in a specific set time, even if you make that time much longer than for any other child, or even if you shorten break up the homework into short tasks and do one at a time and give him a timer for each one. He might just feel that success, and that just encourage development. So give reassurance rather than criticism. There are many failures in their lives. They criticize themselves. They don't need your criticism. You need to give them reassurance. Provide descriptive praise. Praise effort rather than performance. So I like the way that you carried that glass. I'm so sorry that it spilled, but wow, you did a great job of carrying it. You didn't drop the glass. I have a game that I play in therapy sessions where the kids go down on a little scooter board and then they have to pick up um, an animal, a beanbag animal, and drop it into a box at the end of the little strip that they go down on. And often they miss. And then we would say, oh, it's such a naughty little elephant. He jumped right out of your way. So next time you go down, I will say, now remember that elephant is going to jump out of the way. So you have to keep your eyes on it, because that's why he missed it. He didn't look at the elephant. So you have to put strategies like that in the way so that the child still feels he is successful and that he learns something, because that is lovely for them and that is what the child really enjoys. So make all goals attainable. You need to give that just right challenge, and that is our challenge as adults. And then also acknowledge positives in their characters. Many of these kids have many positive things. They can be kind to others, they can be lovable, they can be really just just enjoy things, just laugh at things, just give them recognition for every little positive thing that they do. But as I said, don't you need to be honest. If you're not honest, they will see through you. Okay, another band-aid is help them with planning. So you can use this image, and you can actually download this one. I just make it up, and you can make your own, or you can download this one. It's at the slides. Next to the slides is a Word document, so you can change it the way you want to. But use this. The general thing that people use is a goal, plan, do, check, which is great. But because I see so many kids who rush through tasks or who daydreams, I have put the stop in at front. So either stop in your tracks, stop running, stop rushing, think about your goal, or stop daydreaming, stop sleeping, stop staring out of the window, and put a goal in place. Then you put the plan in place. Then you do it by following your plan, and then you check. And again, this depends on the child's ability, it depends on the child's age, it depends on the child's skills. Make it appropriate for a specific child, and make sure that the child, when they check, they have, like, for every 20 checks that say, yes, I did it correctly, they have only 2 or 3 failures. So that's the way, the just right challenge that you have to create. I can imagine in a classroom situation it can be very tricky, but individually at home it's much easier, and of course in an individual therapy session it's the easiest. Okay, so assist with planning. Also, when you check, sorry, before I move on, when you check and the plan did not work, step through the child. Why did the plan not work? In the example that I said earlier, when the child goes down the ramp on a scooter board and he has to pick up the elephant, tell him, oh, the elephant jumped out of the way. What can you do so that you can pick the elephant up next time? You can keep your eyes on the elephant. Don't let that elephant jump away again. You look at him all the time. When he jumps, you need to see it. So that's a way to do it. Then the child learns, okay, I need to use my eye and my hand, and then I can do it. All right, let's move on. So assist with the planning, use the visual charts that I explained earlier, minimize visual distractions and clutter. There are many classrooms just crowded with visual distractions. Be aware of that. Position the child in a spot in the classroom where you cannot see them all, or take some of them off. Then break down tasks into a sensory perceptual motor component and into a cognitive verbal step, and help the child to analyze this and help the child to follow a plan to achieve these goals. Then also encourage your child to verbalize while performing a task. Okay, so these are the Band-Aids, and they are very effective, all of these that we have discussed, and they help the children a lot and they help adults a lot. However, a child needs therapy. And in individual therapy sessions, we look at a lot of different aspects of praxis. And dyspraxia is not an easy problem to correct. It needs specialized skills from a professional to improve and to overcome. So the aspects of praxis that we address are seen here. You do not have to know more about it, but the therapist treating your child should know much more about this. So I have noted that the best results are obtained when parents do daily intensive exercises at home. I always tell parents when they come in and I see that this child has a form of dyspraxia that it's a tricky one to solve. It's not easy and it might take a very long time. But if the parents are patient, I'll never give up on a child, so we just keep going. So I developed the Coordikids program because we noted that the kids that really progressed well are the kids that did the exercises at home, the sensory motor exercises at home. And if the parents could manage to do them on a regular basis, those kids really improved much faster than the others. So the Coordikids program was born to help parents with these exercises. The program stretches over a 1-year period. Now, this is a very long period of time, but it takes time and effort to build the pathways in the brain and to ensure that they are ready to use automatically. A parent from Ireland sent me this email yesterday, and I couldn't help to include it. Her 7-year-old son has been using Coordikids for about 4 to 5 months. So she says, "Hi, Marga. Well, yesterday was my son's parent-teacher meeting. She said the communications book that he was using for the previous 2 years is no longer being used. His receptive language is fantastic. No need for prompts. He's always up to her showing off his work. He's a great worker on his own and in group settings. He's getting faster at running and no accidents like falling in the middle of the field when playing football. And he kicks the ball hard. His vocabulary is making huge strides, no self-esteem issues. Very confident. His artwork was presented and my husband was amazed. It was one of the best pieces in the classroom. So Marga, all progress, many thanks to Coordikids, and the best part, we are having such fun doing the program." Now, I can tell you also that this child has a lot of other issues as well. I haven't seen the child because I live in Ireland and I live in Australia, but so the child is attending therapy sessions as well. But the mum saw a major improvement, and also the other therapists saw the improvement when they used the program. So this morning, just when I opened my inbox, I received another message from her because I asked her whether I can share this information with you, and she sent me another message, and she included this image. And she said, "This is my son's Christmas card. Every year they color a card and we can order from the school. His coloring was terrible until recently. Not only did he stay in the lines, he's using more colors, which he names and remember each color. His attention to detail is amazing, a far cry since last year, which was 2 colors and scribbles over the Christmas stocking. Apparently, his SNA reported that he wanted to make Mammy happy and was very careful in his coloring. This is huge, Marga. He's only 7 and I'm a very proud mum. So if people don't believe, here's the proof. P.S. He used twistable colors, not chunky colors. So again, a step up." And this, it just gives me goose flesh. This is why I want to use the Coordikids programs. This is why I want to do therapy. This is why I want to help children. The program that he is on at the moment doesn't include any paperwork. It doesn't include where he is at problem after 4 or 5 months. It doesn't include any of the upper skills in that pyramid that we discussed. It only includes the sensory motor skills, and look at the development that has taken place. And that shows you that when you work on the foundation of development, the development continues throughout the brain. So Coordikids mission is we have a mission to serve children and their families, and to serve children like the one that we have discussed now. And we want them to overcome their obstacles, to develop their potential. We help children to be optimally developed and happy. We offer our programs at affordable prices with all support that members need to enjoy exceptional service and support. So this is it. I have time now for questions and answers. So first of all, I just want to answer these that asked their questions beforehand already. So Lorna, her son takes ages to get ready in the morning and needs many prompts. I think I answered your question. Use those little visuals, use a timer when he's ready for that, and you can use some kind of reward, even if it's just for him to see, wow, I did all of that in the time that I had to do it. Then Tracy asked if there is a cure for dyspraxia. I hope I answered your question already. I personally believe there is, and I personally believe that you can help even adults, because the new neuroscience tells us that the brain can build new pathways up to old age. So it might take longer, it might take shorter, it might take many years. I believe we can make a huge difference. And then Leon said, I had the same issues with planning as my son. Can you help adults? I think I answered that question as well. So I believe I can, not I personally can, but I believe an adult can be helped. Okay, so let's see the question that were asked while we were busy. So let me just try to open this box a little bit more because I can't really see. Okay, I am having trouble connecting. Oh, sorry, Stacy. She was on her phone, so I'm sorry about that. I'll send you, definitely I'll send you the recording. And then another person said, we can hear very well. And then, thank you, Margot. We would like to join Coordikids. And that's great. And no other questions. I hope I answered all of them. And I hope to hear from you all very soon. As I said before, you are most welcome to contact us. You can send an email to info@Coordikids. You can send an email to me personally at Marga. You can visit Coordi and you can actually make a Skype or a phone consultation. The first one is always free, and many of the others are free as well. So I really want to help all children, and if there are any adults that I can help, I would love to do that too. So all the best, and thank you so much for listening. It was lovely to spend time with you.